I'm gonna finish this book really soon. I finally reached that 100,000 mark. This last chapter flew by so fast. Overall, I am just so happy with draft 2. Hello and welcome to another writing vlog, the writing vlog in which I finish draft 2. I am so excited because I have been working on this book for almost 2 months and the day is here where I finally finish it. If you're new here, hello, my name is Stephanie and I'm writing my very first book. And I've been writing draft 2 for a while, and it is actually a complete rewrite of draft 1. I started draft 2 from scratch. I decided to scrap most of draft 1. I kept very little of it, and I basically started over with draft 2. I do have to say draft 2 is going so much better than draft 1. I've been flying through it. My story's making more sense, and overall, I'm just so much happier with this book than I was when I was writing it with draft 1. This is actually an impromptu vlog, believe it or not, because the last vlog you saw, that was actually last night. I wasn't going to record a video today or even work on my book at all. My plan was to work on YouTube and a few personal things and kind of get that going because I spent the whole weekend writing. And last night I made so much progress with this book and I got so much further than I ever thought that I would, that I basically got to the point where I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna finish this book really soon. I have 2 chapters left. I just started the second to last chapter last night. I'm only a few paragraphs in, so it's not very far. It was kind of shocking to me how quickly I went through like the 3rd act of this book. And when I looked at my schedule over the next few days, I have some appointments coming up and some days where I won't be super productive, and today is the only day this week where I literally have nothing planned. And when I thought about it, I was like, it just makes sense for me to go ahead and knock out my book today, hopefully today, and worry about all the other stuff tomorrow. It also makes sense because typically when you finish a draft, you let it sit for a while, meaning you don't look at it or read it or think about it. And it would just make sense for me to finish it today and let it sit while I go through these next few days at the very least. But I do plan to let it sit for a little bit longer than a few days, at least a week, preferably more. I have some plans, which I will talk about maybe later, but otherwise it is currently 10 a.m. and I got a little bit of a late start because, as I said, this was impromptu, and so I wasn't necessarily waking up today with the intention of getting ready and filming a vlog. But I still have time to write this morning, and that is my plan. I hope to make a significant word count this morning. I probably only have an hour and a half to write. I could probably only really realistically do between 500 and 1,000 words if I work really hard. That'll be my goal for this morning, and then I will check in with you after lunch and I'll talk about how much I have left and how things are going. And yeah, I'm just really excited to finish this book. Good afternoon. I had a very productive morning session and I wrote 680 words this morning, and that brought me to a total of 100,200 words. I finally reached that 100,000 mark, which I have been aiming for this whole time. I'm probably about halfway done with chapter 47, and I will write the other half of the chapter this afternoon. But my plan is to stop and save the last chapter of the book for this evening. I love writing in the evening. It's my happy time, and I would love to finish the book in the evening, just sit down, be cozy, and finish the draft tonight. There may be another chapter in between the chapter I'm writing now and the last chapter. I haven't fully decided. I'm gonna see what happens in the chapter I'm writing now to see if there needs to be like a small bridge. I think there might need to be in order for it to flow a little better. And if that's the case, I'll go ahead and write that this afternoon too. That's not a big problem because I have all afternoon. I'll probably take a little break this afternoon just to clear my head so I can get in the zone later tonight. I'll probably edit a YouTube video for a little bit. I need to do that. And I'll do some other things that I was planning on doing tomorrow. I might pull them a little bit forward for today just so I can reserve the time tonight for finishing my second draft. One thing I have noticed in writing this second to last chapter is that I have a problem with my entire novel, and it has to do with like reveals. So I have quite a number of reveals planned throughout the book, and my intent was to make the reader surprised and just throw some twists in there, you know, like a good book has. And what I started realizing this last night, and then I said to myself, let me keep writing because maybe I'm just thinking about this wrong or I'm feeling this wrong. And then when I was writing the chapter this morning, I was like, no, this is definitely like what's going on. All of the reveals that I have are happening in the third act, and more specifically within the last 4 to 5 chapters. And I kind of feel like as the author, the characters do not have time to explore the consequences of these reveals. So they learn about XYZ, but there's like 1 chapter left in the book. And the more I thought about it, I was like, this is also, not only does that kind of like leave a lot of open-ended stuff for the characters, but it also is not great for the readers, because the readers are going to learn all this information, but then they don't get the resolution as to what that means. I honestly feel like the last few chapters I've written have just been essentially info dumps, which is not a great thing. I need to come up with a way to fix that in the next draft. I did come up with an idea while I was writing this morning. I actually wrote it in like caps across the Word document, and it's like randomly inserted. Like I was writing and thinking, and then I was like, oh, this is a good idea, and I wrote it in all caps, so it's totally interrupting the chapter. I had this idea that I bring at least one of the plot points quite significantly forward in the book, and I think that allows the characters time to process it and then make decisions based off of what they've learned. And then it also feeds the way for putting in plot points, other plot points and reveals, bringing them a little bit earlier as well. But unfortunately, that's not something I can fix today. That's going to require some rewrites earlier in the book, changing the story slightly, and I just want to finish this draft. I am so close. So that will be all saved for draft 3. I'm ready to get started on this chapter where I left off. These 2 characters that I enjoy writing their interactions, they're about to interact, and I'm going to be writing that part of the scene, so I'm looking forward to that. And I'm going to go make some tea so I can settle in and write. Good evening. I am ready to get into my very last chapter. I wrote chapter 47 this afternoon. I opted to not add an additional chapter just because I knew what else I wanted to write, and I felt like I could just do it all in the last chapter. As per usual, I did not write down how many words I wrote this morning. I think it was around 600, but my total word count so far today is 1,391, so we'll round up to 1,400. So that means I wrote about 800 words this afternoon. And my total word count is 100,900. I did take some time this afternoon. I edited a YouTube video. I opted not to go for a walk because I decided to make some cookies instead. I figured when I finish my first draft, it's gonna be a little late in the evening and it's gonna be too late to go out and do something to celebrate. So I decided to make some cookie dough. I'm gonna let that rest in the refrigerator. And when I finish my first draft, when I finish my second draft, I'm going to celebrate by making some cookies. It's a small celebration, but you gotta work with what you got. I'm looking forward to writing this chapter. It's going to be very similar to the last chapter of the first draft. I really, really liked it, and I'm gonna keep a lot of the same elements of that, and hopefully just write it a little bit better. It might be a particularly lengthy chapter just because I think it's gonna have 3 different parts. That's what I need for it. Hopefully it doesn't get like too broken up, but I think I'll try my best to make it cohesive. I don't have much else to say because I really want to finish this draft. I'm gonna go ahead and prepare my writing area, and I will talk to you when I finish the last chapter and I have some cookies for a snack. I finished my second draft. I have my cookies to celebrate. I already ate one because I just couldn't wait. I am so happy. This last chapter flew by so fast. And I think it's because I already knew what I wanted to happen. I didn't really have to think about it that much and it just came out. Let's talk about all the work I did today and on draft 2 in total. Today, I wrote a total of 2,979 words, practically 3,000. That brought me to a total word count for this book of 102,558. That is like the perfect word count for this book. It's exactly where I wanted it. And I'm super satisfied with that. Also, I calculated how many days it took me to write this book because I started this book on July 7th and it is currently August 25th. And that is a total of 50 days. So it took me 50 days to write an entire book. I think that's pretty spectacular. I'm really proud of myself. My first draft, for comparison, took 6 months to write. Although I will add a disclaimer of the draft that took me 6 months, my first draft, I was writing that with a full-time job. I currently do not have a job, so I am basically writing full-time. I write every day. I think I only missed 2 days in the whole 50 days that it took to write this book. I run my errands, I occasionally leave the apartment, but for the most part, I'm in here writing. It's a sacrifice, and it's a sacrifice I'm choosing to make at this point in my life. The result is I wrote a book in 50 days, a 100,000 word book in 50 days, I have to say. Overall, I am just so happy with draft 2. I feel like it is monumentally better than draft 1. The plot still needs a little bit of work, like I was talking about earlier, but I think it's fixable, and I think it's just really tweaking the book as opposed to a complete rewrite like I did for this draft. I still need to work on the characters. They're still a little flat. I gave them more depth in this draft, but they still, they need more change and more personality. And the thing is, they have the personality in my head. I'm just not communicating it in my writing. So that's something I just have to work on. So now I think you're probably wondering what's next. I'm sort of wondering that too. I do need to let this book sit for a period of time before I touch it again. Because this book has basically been my life for the last 50 days, and honestly more, because before that I was outlining it and replotting it and stuff like that. I've really been working on this book for a long period of time, and it's in my thoughts all day long. Like, I wake up thinking about it, I'm thinking about it all throughout the day, I'm writing it, I go to bed thinking about it, and I need a break from that because if I jump into the third draft or revising the second draft right now, I'm probably not gonna come at it with a clear head. When I'm revising, I don't want to go in with already knowing what the characters are doing and already knowing what they're feeling. Like, I don't want to go into it in that zone. I want to go into it with a fresh set of eyes. I want to read it like a reader and not necessarily an author. What I may do is actually reread this twice. Read it first as a reader and then read it another time as an author. I'm not sure. I have to decide on that. But I will give myself at least 1 week of no Project Lily. I just really need the break. I've been feeling over the last few days like I really just wanted to be done with this book. Not in a super negative way, but just like it's been on my brain so much that I'm just kind of feeling a little bit desperate to work on something else. I do have the other book idea that I decided on a few months back, and I am currently toying with the idea of starting to work on that book during my break. Kind of depends on how long of a break I want to take with Project Lily. If I want to take a week, that doesn't give me tons of time to work on the new book. Maybe just do like a week of brainstorming or something. But if I take a longer break, I may be able to start really plotting the story and potentially begin writing it or doing some kind of outlining. So I kind of have to decide the timing and what I want to do. So I have a lot to think about over the next few days. I am not gonna work on anything for probably the next 2 days. Anything related to writing. I've got YouTube videos I need to edit. I've got 2 in the backlog. I'm trying to get a little bit ahead in YouTube videos. I have some appointments like I mentioned, and I just need to take care of a few things because I've been so focused on this book that I've let some other things kind of go by the wayside, and I need to kind of like get everything back together. So even though I haven't decided exactly what I'm doing yet, you will soon find out because I will be posting another vlog, whether it is a revision vlog for Project Lily or working on my new project, which has yet to be named because I don't even really know what it's about yet. But whatever it is, rest assured that I will see you in the next writing vlog.